What's up, everybody? Watch as the greatest detective in the world, Sunil Nation 98, amazes you.
What's going on, my pet shoppers and video gamers? This is Little Nintendo Shop here. I'm thrilled to be here.
What's up, everybody? It's I, Ken Snake.
Hello, everyone. This is Wing Artist 28, and I'm technically sick right now, but I'm eating mangoes to get me better.
Hello, everybody. This is Downloads Bacon, and I recently just escaped largest ever pet shop. And if you want to know an idea of how I escaped, click on this little link right here. Other than that, I'm back here and here to get this review underway.
This is CC Trainor-Ling.
What's going on, guys? It's James the Con Man. Mr. Crowley, will you ride my white horse? It's symbolic, of course.
Alright, guys, so if you saw our last review, you guys know I'm very excited for this one because it's my favorite season too. So without further ado, let's go right into the plot. So the plot here is that when Vinny and Sunil's friendship is falling apart, it's up to Blythe and Russell as Cyril McFlip to get with them and try and figure out what happened from their point of view. So, my first positive, that's gonna be a tough one, but I'm gonna have to go with Cyril McFlip on this one because I've watched Sherlock Holmes before, and when I first saw this episode, Russell was my main character. I loved the song, I loved the reference, everything about it was fantastic, it was so dramatic, and that British accent Sam Vincent pulled off pretty well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I like the instrumental mood to the Hans Zimmer score for Sherlock Holmes, and it does showcase the Russell's keen to solve the case. I just like the epicness in that musical number. Oh, and you know what's make it interesting, in fact, is that it actually used to be like a unused theme with no lyrics that Dan Anger once composed for a certain show called Gravity Falls. But though it didn't get accepted, so he retooled the song to what we're listening to right now, so that's a pretty good
that's what I was going to mention about the song, was that it was supposed to be a unused theme tune for Gravity Falls. You know, it's sort of like an audition piece. I will give him props and resourcefulness, even though this is far from my favorite song in the show. You know, at least it's A, somewhat different, and B, it does have that, again, you know, somewhat Victorian, mysterious vibe to it.
My other positive I'd like to point out was that I did like the intro phone call in the beginning where, even though Zoe heard that Sunil, heard from Mrs. Twombly that Sunil is sick, and she just had to, find a way to, not make it, burst out or something. So she actually decided just to tell her friends that about Sunil being sick, but then for some reason it just shifts different wordplay, which it develops into a telephone game, which they didn't realize, but then it's that's how actually Cyril McFlip was created. And
I really love how Zoe was saying Sunil is sick and then trying to play telephone with the pets and ended up with Cyril McFlip. Sunil is sick. Cyril is sick. Cyril smells ick. Cyril McFlip.
Then I think it was
already.
Sarah McDrick or something like that.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's what Minka was saying.
My other positive I have was that this actually does reinforce about how great the bromance between Vinny and Sunil was, in the sense, even though they were fighting about some misunderstanding, though, it kind of the way it actually sort of goes just to how much is Vinny needed Sunil and how Sunil needed Vinny, in a sense. So, and that plays out in the way Russell is trying to solve the case, at least throughout the second act, which I thought it was pretty interesting. Also, my other positive was that I actually kind of like how Blythe was actually taking care of Sunil. And that's another one thing I like about Blythe, just how she can take care of the pets so much, and she can be very honest with just how Sunil is actually lying that he's sick, but then Sunil does tell his side of the story, how Vinny. In this type of plot, though, it's Blythe can tell there's some signs that he could be lying, but then he just tries to let just be honest and just maybe to find a way to help solve it.
I'll add on to that one because I'd like to talk about that trope. For anyone who doesn't go on TV tropes, the trope I like to talk about here is called Rashomon style. I will put in annotations on how it's spelled, but here's how it goes. Basically, two sides try to tell the same story, but both sides have different personalities. One side could basically have, the other character trying to save kittens from falling into the lake, or save orphans in a burning tower, and another would basically just seem like an absolute jerk who'd basically kick puppies on a regular basis, etc.
Well, honestly, the Rashomon backstories actually, in that sense, actually were, they're maybe a bit minor, but not as annoying, but actually, kind of to know that apparently Vinny's side story was just about being a bit more full of himself, while Sunil was just being the honest, and particularly it's it, depending on how you actually can find it flowing as much, though, it kind of actually gets a bit redundant for that matter.
Okay, so I'm gonna let Sunil now because he's got so much to say.
He's got way too much. He's gonna blow up the entire review.
You discussion mode 3, 2, 1.
Okay, well, where to get started? Obviously, Blythe and Sunil trying to get him to remember stuff about Vinny that they had good times, and the pets helping Vinny remember good times with him. But the other part that I really wanted to touch up on was the heartwarming flashback, where they're both looking back at all the times that they had together, like when Vinny's riding the bike, and he makes the thing out of bubbles of Sunil.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels so nice because you know how rich their friendship is. And you know that if something was to happen to them like that, you knew that at some point they were going to become friends again. My next positive would have to be Vinny's freak out, although some people might disagree with me on that. I thought it was really funny. And just when the tree falls over and knocks a hole in the wall.
I think it was very over the top. I guess that's why it was comedic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And Sunil's side of the story. As you can tell, people think I'm biased for Sunil, but for this episode, I'm actually going to be, because his story made the most sense. Because he wanted to do his magic, and Vinny, knowing how he is, he definitely would have begged him to do it. But I also like how Russell figures it out at the end that they didn't do either of that they were both doing what they wanted to do. He ended up crashing into his table, his tapestries were gone, and they went on their merry ways, basically, until they got into the fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Calm Ekans down. We're going to
If I could, I'd like to start with a positive that leads into one of my negatives. So I'd like to talk about the continuity of this episode. If you remember what I said in my review for So You Skink You Can Dance, I said that the pets portray Vinny as a tyrant and childish for not getting what he wants. And I think this episode reinforces that. The pets imagine that if they tell Vinny that Sunil's not coming, then Vinny will go into a tyrant Godzilla mode again. The pets sound really scared of Vinny, and I think they should be, because if they think he'll go mad, he'll destroy the place again.
Alright guys, so this wasn't going to take anything out of my score because it's that little, but the one thing that kind of made me question a little bit was if Minka knew that he was looking for the tap shoes and she had him the entire time, why didn't she say anything? She just stood there on the sidelines. And there's also a lack in continuity there, too, because he gets it when he's the same age that he is now, but it shows them back when they were kids.
Well, hold on a minute. You could have had a moment where they basically had, where Vinny did actually have another pair of tap shoes, but they could have broken or been lost.
True that.
I guess the reason why they did that is because if they made a resolution that quickly, we'd have just maybe a 3-minute episode. It might as well be a short.
Yeah, Minka, why would she hold on to the tap shoes? And just, if she knew, why didn't she just give them back? This whole problem could have just been easily resolved. At least maybe like a little bit of it. It's like come on, Minka. Technically, it would be her fault here.
Hence the reason why it's called could have avoided this plot.
Yeah, and you could have taken other ways to help solve it. I mean, just about where the tapestries were. So there could be other possibilities, but yeah.
Can I also add on to add a negative for that equals to the tap shoes, but this is more of an equivalent. The trick wand. How did Sunil not know that he was in possession of a trick wand?
No, he knew.
So he knew, even though it still broke.
I'd like to add to that with a negative of my own. I think both of their stories are way too biased. Why would you need to change up legitimate events in stories to have it favor your side unless you actually hate that person? In the end, we learned that Sunil had the knowledge that his wand was a trick wand, and he knew Vinny didn't actually break it. So he had absolutely no reason to hate Vinny at all. Vinny had a legitimate reason to be mad at Sunil because he doesn't remember when Minka asked to borrow his tap shoes like 10 years ago when they were children, which I also think that was unnecessary. But I also think Minka was over-exaggerating a lot.
Actually, that is a good point. I mean, the whole accusation of the whole tap shoes thing, but then with the wand and
And if I could add another negative, I would have to say I found a bunch of logical errors in this episode. The day after the incident, Vinny stayed in the day camp while Sunil was at his house. If Vinny was in the day camp and the day camp was where the incident took place, why couldn't Vinny fix the problem himself? The scene was still as it was the day after the incident, so Vinny could have found Sunil's magic wand like Russell had and tried to fix it for his best friend, especially knowing the fact that it's a fake wand. While doing that, he could have also tried looking for his tap shoes again.
Massive logical error alert.
I want to add something else. Russell says it all took place on a typical day at the camp, but how does no one see any of this taking place? It's right in the same room. Sunil and Vinny are really loud, relatively, so the rest of the pets could have heard them. I don't think they should have been able to not hear them.
Maybe they weren't there. Maybe it was their...
It showed them all there.
Huh?
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Again, another logical error.
Yeah.
My negative I have to add in is it's just the way that I think the third act where you mentioned about Mega's capture and just how these stories told and then they come in like a bit of a way. So I don't know, it felt a bit unnatural in the sense that like I think maybe the plot could polish like to know like how they're gonna like pull this off, because it was just meant to like to showcase like how much Neil and Vinny can save the friendship, and even though like they're in a fighting situation, like the one trick and the tapestry just felt like unnatural in pacing, and then and the payoff for the just statue just felt like it was just unpolished in a sense. So
if I could, I want to add another negative. And I think the song is a negative. The first thing I noticed is that it takes place in the 1600s era, and it feels more like a cheesy play to me, like a narrative. There's not really much of a song aspect to it. It feels too slow for me. It doesn't really prove anything because it just describes the situation, doesn't really do anything. It doesn't advance the storyline at all. And Cyril McFlip doesn't end up finding what's wrong with Sunil and Vinny.
Doesn't it just...
He's a con artist.
So
I should know.
Wait, if you think about it, the same thing happened with Humanarian.
Yeah, it's not a narrative. Humanarian is actually a song.
So,
it's not a play either.
So what do you think? Cyril McFlip was just more redundant?
Yeah, it was really unnecessary.
Yeah, even I have to agree. Even though I think it sounds good melody-wise, and I guess the female chorus was something to take away from it, I just don't think it was entirely needed. It just felt like 2 minutes of wasted airtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seemed somewhat unnecessary.
Yeah, really, like, 30 seconds would have been, like, totally fine with me.
Because otherwise this feels like filler.
Yeah, I mean, they could at least just have a song dedicated to Vinny and Neil's like real friendship, torture or something. I don't know, but
wouldn't it just be summing up that this episode is just padded out filler?
Yeah,
it kind of feels like it. Yeah, that's kind of my main problem. Because honestly, if you want my thoughts on this, the reason I haven't really been saying as much as I have other times, there's just not a lot to go on. You guys are basically hammering everything.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, let's see. This episode sucked. No, I'm kidding. Alright, so overall, this was my favorite episode of Season 2. Yes, the other guys pointed out that there were some things that were not good about this episode, but in all honesty, I love the song. Russell was awesome. Sunil and Vinny bromance was there, as always. The conflict felt real. And the flashback was amazing. Everything about this episode, I loved everything about it. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Best episode of Season 2. One of the best.
Unnatural flow of story, just an episode without any substance, just not really a great episode. 5.5. No, at that. Let me change that. A 4.5 out of 10.
I didn't like this episode either. I'll put a picture of it in here, but if you can see from my rankings, I have all three of Blight's Big Adventure, Gale Break, and Sunil's Sick Day ranked right in a row of each other, but I gave Sunil's Sick Day a lower ranking, 5.5 out of 10.
Well, I'll be my bag with Sunil on this one. I mean, I really like this episode. I mean, it's one of those episodes that actually does have some good moments for the characters and the one song. I kind of like the song. It has a good instrumental melody, but yeah, it does. Yeah, I can understand the problems it has because I mean the plot actually doesn't actually follow as much, but there are some nice moments that actually does reinforce about Vinny and Sunil's bromance. So for me, I'll give this like 8 mangoes out of 10 for me.
Now time for my thoughts. Very nice. I did really like this episode. It had its point and its purpose, but to most people I guess it would feel like a filler. But it did establish and strengthen Vinny and Sunil's friendship, even though the reason they argued and had this fight was kind of a little dumb. But then again, sometimes the biggest arguments can be over the stupidest things and be easily avoided. Now, I do not have any problem with Minka, which is another major negative that everyone had. Minka probably forgot or didn't know, especially with how she just brought it up. Look, guys, tap pants or whatever. And she just did it. So she borrowed them, probably forgot about them, left, and then came back. So I can't really harp on Minka for that. Other than that, I liked the song. It accomplished its point. It was to kind of introduce Cyril McFlip. You know, the verses were towards the situation of Vinny and Sunil. I really do enjoy this one. It's probably one of my favorite instrumentals. It's really nice to hear. It's really good. And that chorus is pretty awesome. So, out of all this, I think I'm going to give this episode a 9.25 out of 10. Good, but there are holes and there are little problems here and there. But nothing that I can really, really, really hate the show for. Really hate the episode for.
Now, I like Sunil, and I can also like Vinny. And usually they are a good, guess you could say, tag team for friends. But this is an episode where, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like something that they'd really get all angry about if they really are, like, the best of friends. And just, I listen to their stories, they don't really make a lot of sense, nothing really seems to add up. Everyone else is right about those logical errors, just... I'm also a huge logic person as well, and so I was like pretty quick to catch on to those. Minka sort of, you know, again, causing part of the problem, could have been easily corrected if she had just given back the tap shoes in the first place. Cyril McFlip, entirely unnecessary. Perhaps maybe just 30 seconds, that's probably all we could have used. So, overall, I have to rank this episode pretty low in Season 2, if not the entire series as of right now, so I'm going to have to give this a 5.5 out of 10.
Here's how this episode should have just been. Hey Minka, did you take my tap shoes? Yes, I did. Here you go. The end. That's
Exactly.
What it should have been. So this is a blah episode for me. I mean, the only highlight was the song that took too long, as I'll call it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, with 10 being, you know, like basically the most expensive shoes you can get, and 1 being Crocs, I'm going to give this a 5, which is basically, if we're talking tap shoes, we're going to stick it talking regular shoes with metal coins glued to them.
Well, you guys were probably expecting a randomizer. Not going to happen because we're going to get a new episode next review.
Yep.
Yes, guys,
Yep.
this is a very astonishing moment. Like, going into part 2 of this chapter of season 3. And I'm very excited because we've been waiting since August 23rd. So that was about 4 months ago. This is the first new episode next week in the past 4 months. And so we'll be doing a reaction like we used to with, I think we're using BRONY Network, I think.
Yeah, they're
Or-
doing
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that was 4 months ago.
Yeah.
It feels like a couple
Time
weeks ago.
flies.
One more thing I wanted to mention is that, yes, the full season is coming back. It's going to be going all throughout the rest of December, January, and February.
All throughout
And
the winter.
and Snowstorming is going to be December 20th, so technically it's the Christmas special.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, Chase Away the Winter Blues. You guys know it's my favorite.
Yep.
Obligatory holiday episode.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I wanted Christmas in Japan, but downtown city, at least that's better.
Yeah, because this is based off New York, you know, you got, you know, Radio City Music Hall's Christmas thing, you got the Christmas tree lighting.
Mm-hmm.
In Rockefeller
Um,
Center.
Yep.
Yep.
City on Nation 98.
Well, Nintendo Shop.
I Can Snake.
Wearing RS-28.
Donald's Bacon.
CC Trainor-Ling.
James the Con Man.
And this is all of us signing off. And one more thing. Save me some mangoes.
Yes, I needed that.
Sorry, I ate them all.
Oh! God!
Oh, sorry.
Me and
Yeah.
you know who's favorite.
But I was hungry.
I need to get better soon.
Alright, guys. See you later.
Peace out, mango slices.
Rock on, guys.
Take care.
Stay
Hopefully I
classy.
get better.
We'll see you next time. So thanks, and thanks again.